You're the founder of Tonic.
When you look at what you can get in terms of hydration, it's really these big 500ml bottles that are Gatorade, a lot of crap in them, not well balanced electrolytes that aren't carefully sourced, don't care about the bioabsorbability, bioavailability. They're full of chemicals and they're of these crazy bright colors. Our formula is transparent, our ingredients are transparent, creating really high quality products that are amazing for your body. It's really targeted at this kind of intersect of recovery, hydration. What's an afternoon alternative that's not matcha, not coffee, that tastes yum, but has clinical active ingredients that support your brain.
Sophie, welcome back to Top of Mind.
Thank you, very exciting.
That is the second time that I'm able to say that. You are
I wish
second.
it was the first, but I like.
Hey, but you're not in the country, so you couldn't have been the first.
True.
So it's kind of a little bit of a geographical issue.
We'll put it down.
So you were the second, better than the third.
That's true.
It's better than the third.
That's true.
Welcome back to Top of Mind. In preparation for this episode, I obviously did my research on everything that I know about you from our friendship and communication that we've had to date. But then I also went back through interviews that you've done over the last couple of years. And I also listened to our first podcast episode, which for me, reflecting on it, was a bit of a cool moment, because the first podcast episode that we did was back in 2024. I had never met you before. I'd been introduced to you through a mutual friend, Rach, who's now living in London.
Yes.
Crazy.
Shout
out to Rach. But I didn't know you. And then I feel like over the last 2 years, so much has happened between your business, in your personal life, where you're now living. And I was just like, whoa, I know we spoke about this offline, but you definitely need to go back and listen to that episode.
I know, I'm kind of a little bit traumatized. You know, when you hear yourself speaking and you get the ick, I fear that that's what's going to happen if I listen to it, but I'm going to.
You should,
in my private time, maybe on the plane tomorrow.
It's so nice to look back on it, because I've done it with another episode when Alexis was on, and I'm like, we were just at such different stages in your life.
Even the way that you would podcast, I would assume, would be different.
It's so different.
And the questions that you ask and the way that you... What episode number was I? Was I early-ish?
You were early. Can I look it up? It was... Yeah, you were early. You were I reckon, safe to say, probably the first 15.
Yeah, so that's pretty early.
Here we go. Where is she? Sophie Hood. Close. Yeah, episode 15.
Yeah.
15 and 16.
Yeah. So that's early.
So the first one was published on the 3rd of July in 2024, which so much has happened since then. And it's why I wanted to get you back on, because you're the founder of Tonic, which is now not just a hangover cure.
Absolutely not.
Or hangover prevention.
I don't even use the word hangover. It's a dirty word now.
Stop, the evolution. We love it. Now, so you do share a lot of content online. You share a lot of content on TikTok. But I'm going to start with, what is something that most people don't know about you?
So I don't usually read questions, but I did read this one because it was number one on the list. And I was thinking, what is something some people don't know about me? I went back to just, not that far, well, actually a little bit longer than I'd like, but high school. I was actually quite naughty. Okay. I was a naughty nerd. So
For some people that would be a kink.
Yes, for some it would be. Yeah, it's kind of hot.
Cool.
But I really struggled to listen to authority. So I really struggled to listen to teachers. I would always talk back. I thought that I knew more than them. I'd be playing Tetris at the back of the class, and I still got good grades, and I, still topped some subjects. Every parent teacher, my parents would be petrified to go to, because they would have to hear from the teachers that I'm immoral and I don't do anything and I'm all this wasted potential and blah, 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 blah. So I feel like people may not know that from what I share online today, particularly if I'm talking about things that, are business related. They might think that I was always just this way. I don't know, but I was a bit of a rebel, I would say. A minor rebel overlaid with a bit of a nerd.
We love that. I mean, I wouldn't pick it. Knowing you from the last couple of years of knowing you, I don't feel like I would pick that. But they do say that some of the most outspoken people, or people that didn't like authority, are the ones that are going to go on to start businesses and succeed and things like that, because they're happy to take that risk.
I do think so. And I did win in year 12, most likely to be a millionaire.
Oh.
Which a millionaire doesn't sound like that much anymore. But obviously back then when you're in year 12, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I won that.
I also think that when you're like, oh, back in year 12, you're like, when I'm 30, I'm going to have kids and I'll be all of these things.
Oh
and now it's just like, actually, that's not the thing that I'm aspiring to do right now.
Totally.
And $1 million in business actually isn't $1 million in your pocket.
No, I know. I know.
So
$1 million in my personal bank account would be phenomenal.
Agreed. So if you can figure out a way to do that, that would be fabulous. What is one misconception people have about you? Perhaps, I think the reason I have this question is because you do create a lot of content online, as do I. And I feel as though when you meet people in real life, they'll have a misconception about you. You know, I spoke to Ali from Balmy Beauty. She was like, everyone thinks that I'm taller than I am. And then I'll turn up and people are like, you're really short.
That's so
because
funny.
A lot of her meetings or content is obviously like, you can't see her height. So do you think there's a misconception people carry about you? I'm quickly interrupting the episode before we get in too deep. If you want behind the scenes thoughts that I don't always share on the mic, as well as exclusive events, cheat sheets and workshop invites, they go to my email list. You can sign up in the show notes. That's where the real stuff lives. Now back to the episode.
I think that people don't realize, I think people think I'm more serious than I am because of the content that I create, but really I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
People don't, and I always say this.
I back that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be funny online.
Yep.
And I talk about this all the time with my new business partner who is hilarious online. And I think I'm equally as funny as her, and I just don't understand how I cannot be funny in a TikTok. It comes off so weird, so cringe. It is just, I'm trying to crack this thing and it's like obviously not landing because there's no one on the other side, and I just can't do it. And I think when people meet me, they're like, oh, you love a joke, you love to joke around, nothing's so serious with you. Whereas if you were to just watch my videos, maybe you would think, she's all just obsessed with business and growth and
so
personal growth and doing all the things and so maybe that.
I mean, there is one thing that you're really serious about, and that's skincare.
Yes.
So I get that.
Yes.
I see why people would say that. It is important.
It's all over your body.
It is all over your body. What is something that you're perhaps insecure right now about? Because I feel as though people can share a lot of content online and a lot of people share the highlight reels or everything that's going swimmingly. What's something that you feel like you're struggling with at the moment or you're slightly insecure about?
I'm actually struggling sharing content around the business at the moment. I've kind of stopped. I kind of speak more to other passions, like maybe it's skincare or living in New York or fashion or vintage shopping or food or restaurants that I'm trying. I'm really struggling talking about certain things in the business, good and bad. I just think that I'd done it for so many years that I kind of want to not be the face of the brand anymore, and I'm kind of struggling with that separation of letting the brand be bigger than myself and letting it evolve and be multi-market and not be tied to a face, my face.
Yeah. How are you navigating that?
I feel weird about it. I think I'm just trying to I'm focusing on putting all the infrastructure in place so it's, it is a real functioning global brand, and it's not this girl in her garage in Bondi swinging this product into local stores. It's way bigger than that now, and I think I have to act like that, and particularly being in New York, physically being away from one of my largest markets has kind of forced that. But I think I've grown since being overseas, and I think that's been one of the biggest changes, is that I'm not like the Soul Tonic girl anymore. I can't be, it's its own thing.
I love that. I mean, you were certainly the Soul Tonic girl when I met you in 2024.
I had to be, I had no choice.
For sure. At what point do you think then, focusing on that, at what point do you think that you have to transition as because you obviously see brands now, like you've got Rhode with Hayley, and I think that brand will always be tied to her in some way, shape or form. And you see, Alex Earle just launched her skincare line and things like that. So at what point do you think that you can safely step away from the business without the success of the business riding on your face?
I think the examples you just used were already people in the public eye launching a brand, leveraging off their audience. The thing that I didn't have is I didn't have an audience before Soul Tonic. I just had to go online because of not having any marketing money.
Yeah.
And so I did it out of necessity. I wasn't trying to leverage my community and sell them this thing. It was like, I went on a national TV show, Channel 9 told me to get onto TikTok. So I had to make these videos in conjunction with the business growing. So I think the right time to step away is when you don't feel like you have no marketing dollars, where the only option is to make these videos. So for, Ali and Phoebe, who you interviewed for Barmy, they're, early stage. It makes so much sense. They're selling locally in Australia. They have to leverage their network, which is kind of what you have to do unless you have all of this investment. Yeah. So I think particularly as you potentially do get investors in and you are in a global market where people don't know you, then you don't have to be that face, but you can be behind the scenes.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. What is one belief that you currently hold about business that most people would disagree with?
I think there's this belief that the further you go on in business and the more senior you get and more experience you get and more clout you get, you can step away from, doing some low level stuff, which you would see as low level. Like for me, it would be visiting a store manager. I should think that after so many years I shouldn't be visiting store managers anymore, but in reality those conversations down at that kind of like low level, bootstrapped, boots on ground kind of stuff are still equally as important as you grow, because they're remembered, they ensure rate of sale, they ensure your reputation in market. And I think something that I used to think potentially was, when I get bigger I won't have to do XYZ. I think there's an element of you need to forget that, and you're always going to have to do some of the shitty, sticky stuff that you don't want to do. And still have to show up for things you don't want to show up for. Totally. And it kind of never ends, and I think that's just part of it.
It's a never-ending cycle. Yeah. I see it all the time in like corporate as well. Like people get more and more senior and then they're like, well, I don't need to do that anymore. Like that's below me.
Exactly.
And it's just like, well, actually no, like you still need to have your finger in those pies to know what's going on, to be valuable at your level as well.
You need to be across it, and often, particularly in the corporate structure, people just let things go because, to your point, they can't even be bothered to even review some work or be remotely across it, and then that's when things spiral. But the corporate structure has so many issues.
So many. That was a whole separate podcast.
Yeah.
Whole separate podcast. Now, I mentioned to you, July 2024 was our first podcast, and you're now sitting here like a year and a half to 2 years later. What do you think the biggest change has been in Sophie from 2024 to 2026 sitting here today?
It's very basic, but I think I'm just more confident in myself. I have better awareness of things, boundaries. I still, I'm very generous with my time, but I also pick up on, relationships and situations around me, and I know what to invest my time in more. And I just feel more like sense of self, I think, and calm with growing the business. It's less frantic.
What do you think is the biggest mindset shift that you've had to undergo in the last 2 years?
I think the mindset shift that if I continue working hard, it will all work out. Like it's really simple. Like you just have to have this unwavering belief that it's going to work. Otherwise you will just stop and you will freak yourself out. You know, if you spend too much time with yourself and you go through mentally all of the situations that can go wrong, you will drive yourself into the ground. So I think the biggest thing has been like, it's going to work out. If it doesn't matter. Like that's still what I've learned from it is going to be incredible anyway. So I think it's just self-assurance and self-soothing, which I think is a really important skill to have that's really underrated. And a lot of people don't have it. They don't know how to sit and like calm themselves down. They just spiral.
How do you self-soothe?
It's positive self-talk. Literally, I just like speak to myself in a really positive way. I reassure myself. And I think the biggest thing is that when you've gone through lots of like challenges in the business, in your personal life, your baseline kind of resets and you can deal with the next thing much easily. So going through the hardships just makes you so much stronger and better. So for me, when something arises, I'm like, what? It's nothing. It's not like I haven't dealt with this last month or something a million times worse. And also being exposed to people on what I would say is the big stage, like New York, and the people I get access to in the US, you know, their problems are huge and the gravity of them going wrong is like so detrimental.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at least I'm not that guy, you know, dealing with his stuff.
Totally. I feel like I said this the other day to another business owner, and I was like, being a business owner is literally just riding the lows long enough that they become highs.
Totally.
Like that's all it is holding on long enough that the lows turn into highs, because
also,
they eventually will.
Yeah, and also some of the lows will feel like highs comparatively to the even lower lows.
Totally.
So you might have a low, be like, this feels pretty good, because it could be way worse.
Not as bad as it could be.
Exactly.
Totally. I think perspective is so huge in that, and like the ability to zoom out in those situations has helped me as well. Just being like, okay, this is my problem, but like zoom out. What's the bigger picture? Like, is this a tiny little problem that won't matter in 10 minutes time, or is it something that needs my attention that I need to actually focus and change or shift or pivot?
No, literally. It's exactly right.
Now, when we last spoke, you had one SKU.
Yes.
You were the hangover cure.
Yes.
That's what you were known as. Like,
Yes.
I was always like, I interviewed this girl, she has a hangover cure tonic. Yeah. That's what you were.
Now never say that again.
Now hangover is a dirty word, you said to me before.
I think it's a dirty word.
Okay. And because you've now branched off into like more of a wellness SKU or SKUs that are coming. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the evolution of the product SKUs that you've had since your hangover cure.
Okay. Well, look, the original silver like hangover SKU, which has been fully rebranded to recovery, and so many, like thousands of people still buy it for that purpose. But we've always been really cemented in wellness, to be honest, because Mr. Park's technique is all around the extraction method and the maximum efficiency and efficacy of these, you know, fruits and herbs that we use. So it's all around wellness and how to get the most out of an ingredient, right? But it just had to be positioned like that because it was going to be incremental for my customers. It was my commercial brain being like, it has to be positioned like this to grow this very niche category. But as we've evolved and I've evolved, and you know, I don't want to just be known for that. I want to be known for Mr. Park's work and what he's doing, which is creating really high quality products that are amazing for your body, completely irrespective of drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
So they're great for rehydration, digestion, people who can't have anything synthetic and can only have natural things, people who want to understand every ingredient on the ingredient list, people who work out, people who travel, you know, there's all of these occasions. And I feel like I wasn't really being able to tap into them all. And then with that, with the expansion into the US and the UK, we changed the formula and added some electrolytes to it, meaning we could broaden and say a bunch more claims based on regulation in each market. And so now Hangovers doesn't appear anywhere, and it's really targeted at this kind of intersect of recovery, hydration, and like wellness. However, some people still drink it for the pre and the post, not to say, but I just think also it's been an evolution of me as a person. That's what I'm interested in. And I want the brand to reflect that as well, because you want to work harder on something you're really passionate about. And then the new arm is this performance arm, which is Spark Tonic. So Spark by Soul Tonic. And Spark Tonic will have our hydration, cognitive, and a bunch of really cool products we've been working with in collaboration with a local neuroscientist and a Korean university and Mr. Park. So Mr. Park is still the sole manufacturer and supplier and has equity in the business. So it's a really like beautiful, I guess, moment for all of us. Very global now.
I love that. So you've got your recovery tonic, you've got your apple cider vinegar product or SKU.
Yep.
What are the two new ones? Can you talk about them?
So there's going to be 3. 2 are going to launch first. 2 hydration SKUs, and it's all around transparent hydration, particularly in ready to drink. There are a lot of sachets out there, and I'm not necessarily wanting to play in that field. But if you look at a Woolies or a Coles and you look at what you can get in terms of hydration, it's really these big 500ml bottles that are Gatorade, or like these other adjacent kind of Gatorade style drinks. A lot of crap in them, not well balanced electrolytes that aren't carefully sourced, don't care about the bioabsorbability, bioavailability, the balance is all off. And then the other main thing is that they're full of chemicals, and they're of these crazy bright colors. And I just can't get over why everything that's meant to be clean and hydrate you is bright blue and bright purple. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it never has, even with Soul Tonic. That's why we've always branded silver and black, and like we just don't get why everything's so bright and loud in a category that is about wellness and like nature and about calmness often. You know, self-care. And so these hydration drinks are transparent in colour. They're clear like water because electrolytes are clear. They have no colour to them. So our drinks are going to be clear, which will be the first of its kind hydration drinks to be clear, which is awesome. And we're using carefully sourced extracts from South Korea, like yuzu extract, lemon extract, Korean strawberry, and created a really gorgeous, really low calorie, clean electrolyte tonic, and just 2 different flavors. And I'm really excited for it because I think in a very crowded space, I think it's going to be disruptive enough to break through.
I want to touch on the electrolytes for a second, because electrolytes is such a saturated market at the moment, and there are so many people playing in it. I feel like every week I see a new brand pop up saying that they've got the next best electrolyte product. I think one of the biggest things when we last spoke, when we caught up for lunch, when you were like, no electrolyte product on the market at the moment is clear, I was like, that's fucking crazy that there are so many products that claim to be clean or good for you or the most absorbable or whatever, and they've got these bright colours. And second to that, how do we know that what they're putting in that is not just some off-the-shelf formulation that every other business is using? How do you plan on marketing your electrolyte product to not necessarily tear down other competitors, but like educate your audience around why transparent electrolytes is the best way to do it?
I think we're going to probably do a campaign called Transparent Hydration, and it's going to mean multiple things, which is like our formula is transparent, but also our ingredients are transparent. We're going to go through every one of our ingredients, and I think it's going to be without tearing down other brands. I think it's going to be quite clear. I think a big differentiation is, yes, there's this like so many powders, and people are adding protein powder and creatine, all these powders with electrolytes in it, and it's a whole thing. But really in this like convenience, ready to drink space, it's even smaller.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking Soultonics sits in fridges, and it sits in on the go in like Woolies, and there's just no options for the busy girl that's running between podcasts that wants something that's already formulated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to be doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a 2-pronged approach, which is, you know, the transparency side, but then also the convenience in the format, which I do believe that's kind of a white space for me, which feels crazy because hydration is so saturated. And also it being 200 mils and not 500 mils, because I don't think you need to drink 500 mils of fake artificial sugar to get your hit, when if you had a really well formulated 200 mils, you could just get it all in less but enjoyable amount. Yeah.
No, like you're so right. How do you decide on what your next product SKU is? Like you obviously started with your hangover/recovery now. How did you decide on what's next? Do you let your audience and community kind of dictate the feedback that you're hearing of like, okay, cool, this is the next thing that I need to bring out because I'm hearing this amongst my community? Or do you have a pretty strong strategy in like the products and the order in which you're going to release them?
No strategy. It's honestly what I see in market, because I sit across so many different categories, health, wellness, like liquor, grocery, beauty even, because we're sold in a lot of beauty stores. I see what's happening, and globally as well. I get exposure, and I get global buyers from all of these different things telling me what they are looking at, what they want. I knew hydration was exploding, but besides that, I couldn't find anything personally that made sense particularly whilst I was traveling. And that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't I get anything on the go? I'm running around all the time between meetings. Nothing in gym fridges is working for me, particularly in America. I noticed that even though there's so much of everything, nothing was quite working. And that's basically how.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just trusting your instinct and building something that obviously you want to consume. But every time I've gone out with this, and you know, when I pitched it to other retailers, they're like, yeah, like we want it. Like I've taste tested it with so many retailers now.
So cool. And it's kind of a no-brainer when you say it like that. Like when you explain that there's no like smaller ready to drink, like it's crazy to think that someone hasn't tapped into it. So when you have those ideas, say for example, you have this idea of this electrolyte drink that's going to sit in Woolworths, and you're like, this is really cool. How important is speed to market?
Well, given I'm talking about it now, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Because, other brands could technically do it. But at the end of the day, any brand can, go out and, like, an electrolyte drink's not that difficult to make. The electrolyte part, it's not that difficult to source. They're quite easy to source. The hardest bit is the balancing of the other ingredients to make it still really clean and health conscious and not have to add in all of this fake stuff, which typically you have to, that bit is difficult. And how do you mask the electrolyte taste? By only using like fresh lemon. Like it kind of doesn't. Like you have to be balancing all of these things.
Yeah.
That's why that's the difference.
Yeah.
So I would say it's important, but it's also, it still takes a bit of time for other brands to get it. And I think my benefit is a heritage brand could come and do this in a second. Like, Gatorade could come up with a cleaner version. They have their zero sugar version, which still isn't that great, but it's better, good for people with like metabolic issues. But they've never changed the format size. They've never changed the look and feel of it. They've never like updated the vibe. So I still think it would take a while. Whereas I know I'm going to come in with the coolest looking thing that people will buy because it looks cool, regardless of, the health benefits.
Okay, I love that. What do you think most founders get wrong about expanding their product range, or when it comes to their product range?
I think most founders expand their product range too fast. Whereas at the end of the day, the whole business was built on one hero SKU, which is very unusual. But I have gone so deep with one SKU that I can now leverage off that in so many different ways. Whereas I think there's some crazy stat, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's something like your hero SKU usually accounts for like 70% of your business.
That's
like
crazy.
One product, even if you have say 15 in a beauty range or something, one product accounts for everything. So everyone's trying to find that hero SKU. But I think people kind of lose sight of that if they expand too fast. So I would say that, but it really depends on the category. Beverage is so different to beauty, which is so different to fashion. Like whereas fashion, you kind of have to be refreshing things.
Totally. It's interesting. I chatted to Ali from Barmy and we were talking about product SKUs, and I firmly believe that, with all of the clients that we're dealing with, I said last week I had 4 new client meetings. They were all products in some regard, and they were all grappling with this conversation of like, what product range do I launch with? And I went back to them and I was like, honestly, I think you launch with one. You launch with one because it's a low risk entry point to the community that you're serving. They were all very niche products.
Okay.
And I'll tell you about them more off camera.
Definitely just one if they're super niche.
They're niche products for a niche audience. I don't think that they're super like mass consumed products. So I was like, you need to find your community. You need to figure out what the one thing is that they struggle with, and then launch the product based on that, as opposed to launching this range that people might only buy like 1 or 2 things from.
And they get confused.
Whereas like Ali and I were talking about Bang & Body.
Yes.
Like they launched with their yellow firming lotion, and that's what they're still known for to this day. Boof launched with their tonic. There's so many brands that have this like repeatability or repeat pattern of launching with one product, being really well known for that one product, and then diversifying off the back of it. Like Boof have now launched their eyebrow and eyelash serum.
I did see that, but even Balmy, when people hear of Balmy, if they'd heard of it, they'll just think the lip gloss or the lip balm, whatever. So they've done that too.
Yeah.
And with me launching this second brand, it's interesting you say that, because we've actually got 2 products in development and we are figuring out, do we stagger them or do we launch with both?
Interesting.
And it's literally been a topic of conversation in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And we're just launching with our one product to begin with, to all of the points you said.
Yeah. I find it fascinating, but I think that if anyone is looking to launch a product for whatever reason, I think that you only have the luxury of launching ranges if you're an established brand.
Agree.
And if you have a big enough audience that can service that range.
Or a distribution network already. So say Priceline come to you and, major pharmacy and beauty retailers, they need ranges.
Yeah.
They have to have them, otherwise they won't take you on. So they want, I know brands that have to literally just release products for the sake of it, just so they can get the conversation with Sephora.
Yeah.
So unless you've got that, which most people, let's be real, don't have that. That's a very, you know, privileged position to be in. You're not just like you're not a girl launching a business and then Priceline on day one is like, you know, I want you to have a whole range. So unless you've got that scenario, which many people don't, if you're just a normal person launching something, I think it's important. And also like MOQs, product-based businesses are so expensive.
So expensive.
So it's a big risk.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think also that people miss that step. So it's like they see that the only reason that you can get into like Mecca or Sephora is if you have a range. But then it's like what they don't understand is that range also has like a really solid community and a base of loyal customers that are purchasing from them repeatedly.
Oh yeah,
but it's like
built for years.
You
already.
can't do that off the bat because you need that audience base, you need that customer base, and you need that loyalty and repeat customer in order to build the range. But I think a lot of people will launch with range first, thinking that that will bring their customer or community, and I think that's where a lot of brands can fall down.
I agree. It's also just so risky.
So risky, so much money.
So much money.
I just think about how much cash you've got to invest to get that many products.
A product-based business is extraordinarily expensive. Like versus a service-based one on day one, I would say.
Totally. I agree with you. I know that you have been talking publicly about your, I'm going to call it an expedition to get into Qantas, or an airline for that matter. But I think Qantas, because you fly Qantas, they're the preferred airline.
They are.
Aren't they all?
They are the
Qantas,
preferred airline.
If you're listening and you want to sponsor this podcast, Qantas.
No, they don't. They're after what I've heard, they're very strict with their partners and their
rightfully so.
Corporate comms and stuff.
We love that. But all jokes aside, you were very vocal about your experience on an airplane and how the limited options for hydration were on board. And then you created a TikTok off the back of it that generated a whole heap of hype and virality and commentary around people's desires to have your product on board. Where has that got you? Like, where are we at? Do we have an update?
So the TikTok went viral, did go viral in the sense that I had so many cabin crew reach out to me. I had many people in the head office. I had people in marketing and all teams just being like, we need this. We take electrolytes at the back of the plane and we're shaking it up and it's really like annoying. So not only from a consumer point of view did I think this was a great idea, but it's actually become this big great thing for staff as well, because it's very difficult for them who have to stay awake on these long haul flights to maintain hydration. And sometimes you don't want to be drinking so much water because you don't want to have to go to the bathroom all the time. You, often you're not even given that much water, I think is the main point.
Totally.
So I was already kind of pitching to Qantas. I did this TikTok to gain community traction to show that this is definitely something that Australian consumers would want. Put it on LinkedIn, and then I had, board members kind of reach out, and I had a bunch of really high up people of Qantas. And then I was able to take that back to Qantas and say, hey, not only is this a great idea, but I have got all of this community engagement. I've got people wanting to sign petitions. I've got all of this stuff going on. People are drinking less, people care about hydration. A lot of people aren't traveling just for a holiday. A lot of people are traveling and have to work as soon as they get off. So the novelty of drinking champagne on the plane isn't really there. And for me, it's not there, particularly if I have a morning flight like I do tomorrow morning. Like, I don't want to get on and drink champagne. Like, I want something that's going to make me feel good, and there are no options. So Qantas is like working with the government. Like, it's quite hierarchical, quite slow. They influence policy. It's an operation. They're a huge heritage brand. So it's definitely a long process, but I have been pitching the new hydration drink, and I am in a position where I'm in the best position I could be for the process that I've got in front of me. And I've been lucky to have a lot of contact with them now and be able to work through this and have the potential there, and they see the value. And they do have a lot of internal stuff that they have to work out generally for everything. I think the major thing to note is that when you go onto something like an aeroplane, no matter what airplane it is, no matter what airline, the logistics and the kind of backward engineering of it is instrumental, particularly if it's a new category. How do you train all the staff, the airplane, where does it sit in the service? Is it like altitude friendly? What about if there's a health and safety issue? What is all the like regulation around it? What if someone chokes on it? Like, You know, all of these things.
Yeah.
When's it served? Who gets it? Like, when's it loaded? How many do we need? Like, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of admin, but for me, it's just, I'm like relentless with that. I am very confident that not that Qantas will go through with the deal, but I'm very confident that I will be so relentless over such a long period of time that it will be on the aircraft.
Hello, just a reminder, this podcast only works because you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's the easiest way to support me. So go on, hit subscribe, I'll wait. Okay, now back to the episode. I have no doubt about it. Like, knowing what I know about you in the last 2 years that I've known you, like, you will literally stop at nothing.
Absolutely not. Like,
and
exactly.
I'm calling it now that Soul Tonic will be on Qantas airplanes in the next 5 years.
Yeah, thank you.
They will be.
Hopefully
you
by
have
next
my
year.
word.
Yeah.
Hopefully by next year, but in the next 5 years.
Hopefully next year. But yes, exactly, even in the future.
Absolutely. Like,
It's been a journey with them.
Yeah, and I love, there's a massive lesson in that as well, is like, just don't take no for an answer, but like, how can you continue to talk about the thing that you're so passionate about? Like, you travel, you are the ideal customer of your own product as well. So it's like, how can you kind of teach them? But then also on the flip side of that, the fact that you've learned that their cabin crew would also benefit, because that's something that wouldn't even cross my mind. I'm like, obviously people that are traveling need that, but like, what about the cabin crew? Like, is it a health and safety question to make sure that their crew are hydrated?
Exactly.
Like,
what about the pilot?
What about the pilot?
There's so much that
You
goes
can't
into,
carry enough water.
No, exactly. And also water's very heavy, and to carry enough bulk of it takes up a lot of space. And so space is a really big thing in airplanes. It's like, how can we get the best outcome for the least amount of space? And with the packaging, how does it crumple? Does it take up a little space? Because that's really important to them. Like, how does, what does the data suggest that people want at the moment? What kind of, there's all of these things that are interesting. But I think not just about Qantas, but I think in travel globally, I think that, what was traditional with, coffee and alcohol is going to have to be changed and sugary juices, it's going to have to change to something more wellness focused.
I couldn't agree more. I actually talked about this before in my date night debrief from the event, because I think as a non-drinker,
yeah, well, exactly.
Like
what options do you have?
Well, I tell you, there was a horror story then I went to a networking event where at 5:30 p.m. I was served orange juice.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Because I don't drink, and I'm like, surely
anything else.
I'd drink a full sugar lemonade over
that's what I mean.
an orange juice. But I was like, the fact that your only option for non-alcoholic was orange juice or water.
That's crazy.
Wild. And I think that was one of the biggest talking points from the event was every woman there was like, thank you for having like not boring non-alcoholic options, because whilst most of them had a drink or a glass of wine, they liked having non-alcoholic options to sip on when they were tired of drinking. And I just think it's such an overlooked thing.
I agree. There's, as a fun fact, because I used to work in liquor.
I love fun facts.
In the last 4 years, every year the non-alc category within liquor, so it's still considered a category within liquor, has been the fastest growing category every single year, and it's continuing. Out of whiskey, gin, wine, anything else. Spritzes, like Aperol.
Well, the stat to support that, and I see it, like this generation coming through is the first generation ever to drink less than the generation before.
Yeah, it doesn't
They've
surprise me
never
at
seen a
all.
decline in drink consumption, like alcohol consumption, until this generation coming through, which is crazy.
Does not surprise me. I mean, like, people are going, instead of getting blind, they're going and getting a matcha and going to Pilates, like.
Totally.
It's a different generation. And that's the thing with these conversations with these big box retailers I'm having, they see that. They're like, we need to be catering for the younger generation coming through.
Your future customers.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Now, I have a question before we move away from the products. Out of the 5 products that you're going to have out, do you have a favourite? I know it's like choosing a favourite child, but do you have one that's like...
Probably the new hydration one.
Okay.
And probably the strawberry lemon flavour, just because the strawberry's not like a fake strawberry taste. It's literally just this tiny, tiny extract from Korean strawberry, which is naturally sweet. So it has this, and it has an undertone of like the lemon makes just like masks everything.
I love anything lemon.
It's just fresh.
Yeah.
Then you might like the yuzu lemon, which has a bit of mint and ginger in it, as it's like
Big fan
to
of
make
lemon.
it plain. That one, but then my partner Nick, he loves our brain tonic that we're coming up with, this cognitive one, which uses all of these amazing
sign me
things.
up.
Yeah, so which is caffeine free. So it's basically what's an afternoon alternative that's not matcha, not coffee, that tastes yum, but it has clinical active ingredients that support your brain. That is also allowed to be sold in Australia, which is a big kicker because we've got some really strict regulations.
Not much is allowed to be sold here, let me tell you that. This conversation doesn't end here. Part 2 is where we go deeper. Make sure you subscribe so you know when part 2 drops. Remember, you don't win by posting more. You win by being the name they think of first. Stay top of mind.